So in this video, I'm just talking. I want to talk about um, the burnout and the purpose of life, kind of, because I think they're kind of tied together in some way. They're not like the same thing, but they're kind of interconnected. And through trying to solve my burnout, I kind of found the basic principle how I feel like of the purpose of life in general and my life. And first thing about burnout, I feel like I I always try to like at first do everything at once, and I can't do that many games. I feel like in a consistent manner, and always also I can't do too much of it um, because I don't know. I if I do too much of these things, it just burns me out right now. Don't know why exactly, but it's like um, the thing is like when you burn out, it's because you just like you feel like you have to grind, kind of, and you basically treating yourself like a robot because uh, you try to have maximum efficiency because you want to use the time that you have to do something meaningful in your life. But it's not that simple um, that you can say, okay, I just am disciplined, I just do this, I just do that. Uh, Honestly, that's a really deep emotional topic, I feel like. But in principle, when you just um, try to grind it out like a robot without giving yourself time for yourself to just do the things you enjoy or just try to do the things that you want to do more so structurize it so that you enjoy it. You will, if you don't do that, if you just try to grind it out like consistency and treat yourself like a robot, you will most likely burn out. And honestly, I um I feel like I've burned out a long time ago because everything I did in my life always I tried to have a purpose behind it. Doesn't matter if other people thought that it's useful or not. But I had my responsibilities, and then after that, I had my responsibilities in a spiritual sense, like my purpose, whatever. And that means that you basically only work on stuff or like I don't know, work on yourself, blah blah blah. It's all work, and at one point it's necessary to do something. At the other point, if you just do it just for the sake of doing it, and like like a robot will do, you just will burn out. It's just how it is. And honestly, I try to do things more in my own rhythm, like not playing too much of ranked stuff and so on, and just when I feel like it, I play it, then I play one game or two, and then I'm done for that day. And yeah, of course, there are these things like, yeah, you could have I don't know, played 5 games or something, but at a certain point, I don't enjoy it anymore, and then I just burn out from it. And in the past, I tried to like do every game and so on, and it's just too much. And then, like, the amount I played was also, I don't know, in a certain sense, too much. And I feel like I want to do other things too, like creative stuff and so on. And I feel like creative stuff is making me happy also and fulfills me. And I like to get good at something when it comes to games, but if I play too much, I feel like I'm robbing myself of this time I have for myself to be creative. And then I have the stuff with doing something with others and so on. And yeah, I guess that's what's meant with work-life balance in general. But it's a very general word to describe it. I feel like it's not that easy to say work-life balance, because I feel like even if you have so-called work-life balance, you could be trapped into like scheduling, in a certain sense, scheduling a time out, but this time out is just working on taking care of yourself in a sense that you're still working on something. It's just your own well-being, but it's still work. It's not really a timeout if you handle it wrong, because it's just you working on yourself not to burn out, but it's still work. And I think it is possible that even if you plan yourself to have timeouts, these planned timeouts could be another form of work for you and not really a timeout. And then you could burn out even if you are trying to hold a work-life balance for the sake of holding a work-life balance, because you're not really taking time for yourself, but you're just taking time to work on taking time of yourself. And I feel like I need to have a more natural approach to all of this and less structured, if that makes sense, and have a more intuitive way of achieving my goals. And even if it seems to me like I'm not doing that much, it's still better than overdoing it or doing nothing. And at least I can enjoy what I'm doing. And if I enjoy what I'm doing, I'm better at what I'm doing. Because if I don't if I work on myself like a robot, then I get to a point where I hate everything and don't enjoy anything. And then I get frustrated or something else. And then my motivation to do anything drops to zero, and I'm still doing it. And if you will, the ability to do things in a good manner sinks and sinks and sinks and sinks. And at some point there is no purpose in doing it. And I feel like, I don't know, my threshold to getting burned out is very low, So there, it doesn't take much to make me burn out, because I think, I don't know, part of my personality, my knowledge about life and the world and so on, and my um, my sensitive uh, spirit, basically. I don't know. I'm kind of sensitive to stuff, and it's easy for me to get overwhelmed with stuff very easily, because maybe it's because I get so much input that even little stuff can overwhelm me, because I'm collecting so much input about uh, the things that happen in my life, and maybe more than other people. So other people could be less burned out by more because they don't have that much input. That's just honestly a theory. Like, it's a possibility. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I believe I'm very easily burned out. And the problem is, like, what are the alternatives to not being so-called lazy and constantly working like you're a robot? Because the other alternative is just let it go and just do nothing. But doing nothing is also not good. But when you did nothing for a long amount of time, you will do something automatically, most likely. Unless you're hooked by something. But honestly, I don't feel like I'm hooked by anime or something like that. Like, I don't care really about these stories, like video games and so on. Like, I have fun playing video games, but I don't care about the narratives behind it, like the characters. Like, I'm not really invested in movie stories or series stories or something. I don't care really, because there's so much in life that is more interesting than these stories. Like, of course, sometimes I like to watch it, but I'm not invested. If that makes sense, because it's not very important for me and my life. And I feel like at the same time I don't have really the motivation to achieve like a career goal or something. I don't care about that, but I like to do stuff that is good, if that makes sense. And that's the next thing. Like, if you're doing stuff you feel like is not fulfilling, then you can burn out too. And that's about where it comes to what I found is the basic purpose of life. When I like distracted myself with an old children's series when my parents were young, it was like I realized when I watched it on the side while like thinking and doing something else and just chilled. And I noticed that the old children's series mostly were about, helping others, selflessness, and doing good. And modern children's series, there is much about lying and um, uh, quarreling and defending your self-esteem and your status in society, achieving something, success, and so on. And the today's narrative is also like people like don't waste your time, blah blah blah. At the one side, it's waste your time, and the other side is don't waste your time. Use every second of your life because you only have one life. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, honestly, in itself. But to that later. Like, you today, all that matters to society is did you achieve something? Did you have success in something? Were you able to redefine skill or mastery and so on? Did you achieve some sort of mastery, some sort of career, some sort of power, whatever? That's the main goal of society today, I feel. And of course, it's all about status and about winners and losers. And of course, like it's like in school. Like our society is like school today. I mean, it was always that way, I feel like, in most parts of the world, but it's like in school. Like if you achieve something, if you did what society wants, you get high status. If you don't do what society wants or sees as valuable, you don't get status and are a loser. Basically, society gives you grades, and then depending on what you do with your life, which is more valuable or less valuable from the point of perspective of society, you get a grade. And this grade is your status in society. And people will perceive you through the lens of this grade that society gives you. And that motivates people to do what society thinks is valuable, to get good grades, to have high status in society, so that people value them as human beings. But the problem is that many things that are valuable in the eyes of society are, from my point of view, completely not important. And that's where the problem for me as a person when I grew up and still kind of comes in, that I have different things I value than society. So I have to make a choice there. And this choice is either I set aside my own values and things that I care about and start being the guy that society wants me to be. In exchange, I get a good grade by society and I'm not a loser. And people will like me because I am someone with high status. Or I ignore what society wants from me and go after what is important to me, but at the same time society will give me a bad grade. And then I will, maybe for the rest of my life, probably be a loser. People will disrespect me because they view me through the lens of the grade the society gave me, because I didn't do what society feels I should do. And in every interaction you have with humans, this grade can come through, and people, even if they are not aware of it, but not everyone, but many people will view you through the lens of society, of the grade that society gives you, and will judge you as a low value human being, subconsciously. And this motivates people to do what society wants, to grind it out, basically, just for the sake of grinding it out. And that can go well, and that cannot go well. And of course, there is a higher probability of burnout if you do what is against anything you believe. The good thing is, for most people, I feel like their true values and what they believe doesn't contradict often what society wants them to do. it's just for certain people it may contradict, and that's will make it very hard for these people not to get a bad grade by society, basically. But to be honest, I don't really ever had the motivation to achieve things because I knew basically too much about this world than to do something that I feel is pointless, in a sense that I didn't want to chase something that is valuable in the eyes of society but has no meaning after I die, if that makes sense. And most things for me, when I looked at how society is, the jobs in society, blah blah blah, I didn't feel like of course jobs have value, but I didn't feel like chasing a career, chasing a high position in the world, like becoming something great in the eyes of society was valuable for my life. And if I would die after I lived my life, I wouldn't be happy with chasing a high career place. And I honestly, I mostly have and had spiritual goals, and the worldly goals, so-called, align with these spiritual goals, but they're not about making money, having fame, and so on. They are very specific, about specific things to do what is right to do, not because I gain something from it. Of course I'm gaining something from it, but the primary motivation for me was doing something because it was the right thing to do, not because I would get something out of it necessarily. Because nothing else to me mattered, and kind of still matters, because yeah, whatever. It's just not worth for me to chase something just because I get valued by society from it. It's just not worth for me because I feel like wasting my life when I do too much things just because other people want me to do it, because I get viewed by people better. And I kind of, part of me always was doing intuitively, showing people how weak I am, to make people disrespect me, to make people despise me, because I wanted people to show me who they truly are, partly. Because many parts of our society are so superficial, and everyone always shows you your nice face. But if you show the people who you really are, they will very, very fast, many will just walk away from you. And if you, from my perspective, if you pretend to be that, a perfect individual, blah, 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 you can keep many people around you, but as soon as the mask drops, as soon as something happens, these people will go away anyway. And I personally like to have a small circle of friends, because with many people, I feel like with most people, if I would have a long active friendship, it would be a friendship of life support. Like, many people don't have the urge to communicate that much with me, and for from either side. So why should I keep it alive on life support? Sometimes it makes sense, but most of the times I feel like it's, I don't know. But back to the thing, like, I realized that the values in the past of the children's series were completely different of they are today. And today it's all about achievement, success. What can you do? What can you reach? Can you reach your highest potential? That's basically the message of the society, not necessarily all parts of society, but there are different groups. Like, one group is just lingering around doing nothing and is depressed, and the other group is just trying to have a purpose in life and just grinding it out like robots, or not robots, depending. But all it's all about self-worship, basically. You do everything to make yourself great, if that makes sense. And in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. I want to say that. I've nothing wrong with people working on themselves. That's in principle, it's a good thing. The thing is, what for me was interesting because of in the past that it was more about values, doing good, selflessness, and so on. Character, good character. And what stood out to me is that, honestly, like, the main purpose of life is just about doing good. A very simple thing, but which gets basically neglected in our today's society. In our today's society, it's about achieving something, but achieving something, if you die, whatever you have achieved will be worthless. Whatever you have achieved in this life, after you die, it's gone. Okay? Doesn't matter what you achieved. It's just gone. But what stays, what is still of value, is what you did good in your life. That gives your life value. It's like you can be the greatest human being on earth. You can be conquering the world. You can be number one challenger in league. You can be number one whatever, grandmaster in chess, whatever. But if you didn't do good with what you had, with what you were given, then your life is worth nothing. And the life of a guy that has never had anything in his life, he grew up poor and died poor. He had never had anything. He was always struggling. He was poor, whatever. But this guy did good in his life every day. He did good to himself and others. I'm not talking about helping others on the cost of yourself. I talk about real goodness, doing real good, and that's benefiting you and your environment. Like, doing things on cost of yourself are not sustainable, and life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You will lack, you will burn out by this also. I'm talking about things that inside your being are good, and not about things that people think are good. Not about pleasing people. I'm talking about doing things that are good, and you know it deep inside your being. We have a radar for that. This guy that every day he's poor, he has nothing, Never in his life. He never achieved anything. He never had success. He never was talented in everything. Maybe he was talented, but he couldn't use his talents. He never reached anything, any sort of mastery, never any sort of success, career, status, nothing. He was all his life. He was a loser, and everybody despised him, okay? But this guy did good in his life, and his life is more valuable than the life of the one that reached everything, and everybody admired him. But he did not do good with what he was given. And in the past, I always thought that life, subconsciously, in my mind, I thought I knew that life was unfair, you know. Some people have it better, some have it worse, and we just have to work through that unfairness, and it somehow will get sorted out in the end, you know. But the thing is, truth is, like, life is fair, because doesn't matter who you are, how rich you are, how poor you are, how smart you are, how big you are, how high status you are, how, I don't know, how good you are in certain things, how rich you are, whatever. Every single being has the same chances of doing good. Doesn't matter who you are. In the small and big proportions, everyone has the chance to do good in this life. And that's what life is about, and that's why life is actually fair. It's fair and square. And what is one of the most important questions after you die is, did you do good? Because that's what matters in the end. You can't take your success with you. Your success will be worth nothing if you didn't do good with it. You were given certain things in your life to use them to do good. And like most of the times when we have like funerals and so on, like what is remembered by people, it's the good things they did, not really what they achieved. It's not about that. It's what the good things they did, like the love they gave to other beings. That's what's remembered. Even, yeah, that's important. And yeah, and I'm really thankful that, because I always asked myself as a child, what's the purpose of life? And why I'm here? And what should I do here? Like, what is right, what is wrong? And I noticed in some situations when I think about what is right, what is wrong, sometimes I don't know. But when I ask myself, is it good or is it not good, I more likely have an answer. Because I just can feel the quality of that decision. If that makes sense. And it makes it easier to know what is the right thing to do, if that makes sense. And I just wanted to share that because I feel like it's a very powerful knowledge to have, to know the purpose of your life, what life really is about, what really is important in your life. Because many things that we are told to care about will be completely unimportant after we die. And some things are important now and will be important then. and that's good, doing good. That's the most basic, fundamental purpose of life. Of course, every life is different. Every life has different things. Like, for instance, like everyone has different obstacles to overcome, like outsiders or outcasts like me have to overcome the hatred of other human beings for whatever, for their hate, their ignorance, whatever, to do good. And people that are, high status, that are highly admired, they have to overcome their feeling of being something better to do good. Everyone has their own obstacles in life that need to be overcome to fulfill their purpose. But it's possible. And especially you have, I think, a better time living and doing the right thing when you know what it's all about. And I hope some people can get transformed by the knowledge I received, thankfully, about a very powerful knowledge. And I wish that people will fulfill their purpose, actually, of doing good with the talents they were given, the opportunities they were given, with the skill sets they were given, to just fulfill the purpose, and at the end of their life that they are content because they did good in their life. And also they were fulfilled in their life because they did good. Because when you fulfill your purpose, you will be fulfilled. And that's doing good to yourself and others on a very basic level. And of course, life is kind of complicated, but when you break it down to the basic levels, it's about doing good. And I wish everyone that he can fulfill his purpose in a good way. And I wish you all the best, and take care of yourself and others. Bye.